All right, welcome everybody to the April 2022 GHFL board meeting. Welcome. Glad to see everyone. I had mentioned this to you in an email to the board, but I'm looking at kind of re-engaging with the MAC so that we can possibly have our in-person meetings again. I think we need to start having those eventually and just get back to normal life. As much as I enjoy just going downstairs and kind of firing up the computer and seeing you guys, there's just no substitute for seeing you guys in person and speaking with you. So I'll keep you posted on what they say. It sounds like that we caught them at just the right time, and we just need to re-engage. If somebody else has a suggestion for another spot for meetings, whether it's for the board meeting or for the committee meetings, then please let me know, and we'll try to engage those. Does anybody just off the top of your head have any ideas for places for meetings that we can have?
Does it cost us money? Sorry, go ahead.
So the MAC does not cost us money, and they're nice enough to provide, you know, warm cookies, which as a member of the MAC, I know what the cost of them are because we've done, and Bridget does as well. It's insane. So they give us basically solid gold cookies because that's what they're charging their membership for that stuff, and water, and you know, they set up and everything. But you know, the beauty of the MAC, why I think it's important is because it's such a huge institution of our neighborhood, but it's a private athletic club. So if you're not a member, you would not normally be stepping into that building. So many people who live in a neighborhood never get a chance to go in the building. So for them, it's a mystery of what it is and who's there and what they have. And so this is kind of almost like a monthly open house for people to experience it. So I think that that's somewhat important for people to do. If Portland, you know, if the Lincoln High School has a nice room or something like that, that would be nice to do as well. But I haven't been given a tour yet, so I don't know if there's any adequate spaces for us there yet. All right. Let's just go to the first agenda item, which is approval of minutes. And I have to apologize. When I sent the email out yesterday, I sent the wrong link. I sent the link to the January minutes, not the March minutes. Not entirely sure how that happened, but there it is. So I just pasted the link to the March minutes in chat. And hopefully, if you haven't read them already, because I think David's circulated them to people. But if you haven't read them already, I just want to give you the opportunity to click on that link and then quickly scan.
Yeah, whatever I read was the March minutes, so.
Okay.
I think it's the agenda that you had the wrong month, not the minutes that you had the wrong month.
Right. In the agenda. Yeah.
Ah.
The agenda.
Well,
I'm fine.
So
You want
what we're
that
going
on?
to do, we're going to just entertain a motion to accept the minutes. Somebody's going to second. We'll have a discussion. If no discussion, or if the discussion is completed, then we'll just go ahead and vote and move on.
Yeah, I make a motion to approve the minutes for March.
That's great. Any second?
Second.
Thank you, David. All right, discussion. Did anybody see anything that needs to be changed in the minutes? David, thank you very much. It's again, it's kind of, you're the unsung hero. It's not easy putting the minutes together for sure. So I really appreciate you doing the work and doing it so quickly. It's amazing. It's like within a few days they're out. All right, well, not hearing any corrections or edits or objections or something like that, we'll call a vote. So all in favor of accepting the minutes, raise your hand. I am seeing Catherine. I don't remember if I saw your hand or not. Yes. Okay, so it looks like it's unanimous for those that are in attendance. And so there is no vote on that. All right, moving on. Treasurer's report. Stephen, are we in any different situation than we were before?
Checking balance is 1429.88 and savings balance is 5126.01. 4 cents of interest for the month.
Okay, good. I think unless Tiffany has a suggestion for kind of more expenses, I think one expense that is coming up is the postcard. We did get $1,800, but it's going to be, and you know, correct me if I'm wrong, Catherine, but I think it's closer to $2,200. So it's not certainly not going to break the bank, but we are going to have to spend some money. Is that right? I'll get you just a second.
Thank you. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit more than that. We actually reached back out to Renee at Brown Printing recently for Linda and I had a question about formatting, and she sent me back an updated cost estimate, letting me know that some prices had gone up since they gave us that original estimate. But I think there's an error on it somewhere because the one she sent me is actually less now than the original. So yeah, there's going to be a little bit more and probably a little bit more of an increase from that as well.
Okay.
Roughly how much? Sorry.
I'm thinking it's probably going to be roughly 300, maybe somewhere between 300 and 500 is my guess. I believe the original estimate, I have it up, I just have too many screens open right now apparently, was around $2,175, and we were approved for $1,800.
Yep.
So yeah, somewhere in there. And then I also know that, and Linda has some information on this too, and we've talked about it before, about potentially getting some banners or giving out something for people when they go to our site and join from the postcard. So an opportunity for somebody to win something, which could potentially add a little bit of cost. And so we wanted to take a temperature on that today and hopefully make a final decision too, rather than kind of kicking the can down the road.
Hey, Catherine, it's Sherry made a comment that it sounds like you're a million miles away.
It's really hard to hear you.
Is that any better?
It's still low. Yeah.
How about now? I'm very sorry. I'll give something else a try. Linda, do you want to jump in here with some other details?
Well, I don't know. Are we going to talk about the postcard now?
We
or-
will. I just wanted to give a heads up since we're on the treasurer's report that we have, over $5,000. We're probably going to spend another, $300 to $500 on this postcard. So
Yes.
we're well within our fiscal responsibility here. So we'll
Yes.
talk about that on the action item coming up. But I didn't want to keep Dan Anderson too long. He was nice enough to volunteer to speak to us about the Northwest Neighborhood Cultural Center and the impending or proposed sale of that building that is
Great.
located in Northwest. The Children's Theater had been tenant there, and there's a long history that well predates my my time in the neighborhood. I think Jerry knows everything about because he's been here quite a while, knows everything about this property, but I wanted Dan to go ahead and speak to this, to give us a little history and kind of what's coming up and what decisions need to be made, because if the sale goes through, there would be money coming into a fund that we can then leverage for various activities. So Dan, if you're ready to speak.
Absolutely. Can everyone hear adequately?
Yes.
Yes.
Good. Okay. I'm Dan Anderson. I am the current president of the board of directors of Northwest Neighborhood Cultural Center, more commonly known as NNCC. NNCC is both the name of a legal organization and it's also the name of a piece of real property. The real property, of course, being the old Christian Science Church that's at 1819 Northwest Everett, and a surface parking lot, which is to the north of the church and behind it. So it's 3/4 of a city block. NNCC was formed by NWDA and a number of other stakeholders in the late 1970s for the purpose of acquiring the Christian Science Church, the building, the real estate, from the church, the legal organization, at a time when that congregation had dwindled to fewer than 100 individuals. They felt that they needed to sell the church. There were other things going on in terms of an interest in having a base for social service delivery in the area. The original name of the organization was Northwest Service Center, not Northwest Cultural Center. And the actual transfer of ownership took place in 1978. And initially, the building operated as a base for diverse social service organizations, including Meals on Wheels, the seniors program, a friendly house. There was an Alcoholics Anonymous chapter there, Gray Panthers, quite a range of organizations had a base there. At one point, Neighbors West Northwest had its offices there. There were some, but not a large number of performing arts events that occurred there. Little Richard once did a concert there. We all missed it. Or maybe not Jerry Powell, but many people missed it. Anyway, the building was constructed was first placed in service in 1911. Construction began a year or two before that. Many systems in the building and many elements of the building have state-of-the-art characteristics from more than a century ago. This includes the plumbing, this includes the air conditioning, of which there is none, and so forth. The building was never really a success from a financial operations point of view. And one of the reasons it kind of hung together fairly well in the late 70s and a little while into the 80s is there was a fair amount of federal money available to support smaller not-for-profits. And this is primarily through the CETA program, which was something begun in the Carter administration, which was kind of gradually shut down and eviscerated under the two Reagan administrations after that. The monetary operating situation of the service center kind of went from bad to worse. And in the early 1990s, I believe the year is 92, a new tenant arrived, the Northwest Children's Theater and School. And and again, back to NNC, I said it's both a building and an organization. Well, it's an organization just like the Goose Hollow Foothills League is an organization where you've got bylaws and you've got members who elect directors and so forth. Well, there's an analogous mechanism here. One key difference is that the bylaws of NNCC include language prohibiting NNCC from disposing of its real property assets without an approving vote of the members at a meeting called for that purpose only. And 2/3 of the members who show up have to vote to approve for this to work. It's the connection between Goose Hollow and between 5 other neighborhood associations and NNCC is that, again, NNCC is a membership organization, and just like somebody has to live or own real property within the boundaries of the Goose Hollow Foothills League for them to be eligible to be a member, well, there's an analogous requirement with regard to NNCC, except that it's 6 neighborhoods, not 1. And one of the 6 is Goose Hollow. And that's, if you will, sort of the connection between Goose Hollow and NNCC. The Children's Theater has been a very, very significant tenant at the building, again, since the early 90s. And they became the sole tenant of NNCC and actually took over management of the property in 2009 as part of an effort to resolve a property tax dispute with Multnomah County. The lease that was entered into in 2009 has been extended twice, but expires this coming September 30th, less than 6 months from now. And absent some unforeseen development, the Children's Theater will, under the tenant in the building, after October 1st. And, this is, I think everyone's agreeable to this. This is not a big subject of dispute or anything of the kind right now. But You know, which is not to say that there haven't been tensions over the years at times between the Children's Theater and NNCC. To give you a sense of the physical condition of the building, which as much as anything is sort of the big driver here, the building is not in good shape. There have been, it's an unreinforced masonry building. It has multiple city code violations, which the city, for a string of reasons we can speculate about, has not been particularly vigorous about enforcing. But that would not necessarily be the pattern in the future. There have been a number of architectural and engineering studies as to what's required to address the major systems deficiencies in the building. The oldest one of these that I'm aware of was done in 2004. And in 2004, estimated a cost of $4 to $5 million. And the number one item on the to-do list from the 2004 study was to re-roof the building. That has yet to occur. So, you got things where we're clearly deteriorating, getting on 2 decades ago, which remain unaddressed. There have been a couple of other studies. And again, typically what you get is a consortium of an architect and a structural engineering firm working on this. The most recent one dates from late September 2017, had an estimated cost of a bit north of $10 million. And as we're all probably aware from anecdote and looking at newspapers and whatnot, there have been significant increases in construction costs in the 4 years since September 2017. And the current board and its sort of immediate policy predecessors of NNCC came to the conclusion in 2018 that the board was not capable of raising the $10 million or more required to address the building's physical condition. This doesn't diminish the status of the building as a really historic icon for Northwest Portland. A lot of people are very fond of the building just to be able to kind of walk by and take a look at it and occasionally be inside it. But because the NNCC board did not feel that it was capable of raising that kind of money, we settled on a strategy that what we really needed to do was to sell the property to a preservation-oriented new owner who was capable of raising the money and who would pursue required reinvestment to ensure that this building is going to be here 50 years from now, because it's on its current trajectory that's not at all clear. We retained a commercial real estate broker to pursue this, and sort of had the bad luck to get serious about the marketing about a year before COVID hit. We've received any number of throwaway offers. And by throwaway, I mean, yes, we literally received an offer for $1. And we received, some low six-figure offers, none of which were pursued. We received 2 what I would call serious offers, meaning they were, in the vicinity of what we think the property's worth. The first one was ultimately withdrawn, was from a local developer investor. And the drivers of its being withdrawn, basically come down to that investor shifting perceptions of the investment market in early 2020 as COVID was sort of breaking over us. And a little later in the year, our 100+ days of civil disturbances in downtown Portland did affect the risk-reward perceptions of certain commercial real property investors in Portland and the Central City area. In the third quarter of 2021. Last year, we received an offer from an outfit whose name is Founders Development. They're out of Las Vegas, Nevada. They proposed to purchase the building. What was eventually negotiated was an all-cash offer of $4.75 million. And they proposed to redevelop the interior of the building and the surface parking lot behind it as a boutique hotel. The hotel would have a restaurant and a bar and sort of the other things you find in boutique hotels. That offer was accepted. We have negotiated a purchase and sale agreement with them. Got a lot of experience of pro bono legal services from the Stoll Reeves law firm here in town on that purchase and sale agreement and related real estate matters. And where we are now is we're approaching this special membership meeting, which is now set for this coming Tuesday, the 26th at 6 p.m. And the sole topic of that meeting is going to be this proposed sale. The meeting, of course, will include a detailed presentation from founders as to what they're proposing to do with this. I've got a couple of slides from them. If you haven't seen any of this, that if the share screen functionality is working, I could share with you.
Yeah, let me see if I can do that. All right, try it now, Dan.
Okay. Let's see here. There we go. Do we have that up on the screen?
Not yet. There we go.
There you go. Yeah,
Okay.
nice.
This is probably the best single slide in the deck. What you're looking at here is the existing building in the foreground. The view is to the northeast, looking across the intersection of Northwest 19th and Everett.
Mm-hmm.
And the structure behind the existing building is this to be constructed new building, which would go on the surface parking lot, which is directly behind the building. And I think kind of the key takeaways from this are that the existing building, its public appearance, as you would see it from this intersection or from any of the sidewalks, is basically preserved. All the public facing facades, the dome, I mean, it gets cleaned up, it gets a new roof, and so forth, but it's preserved, and you have something that is an attempt at something sort of architecturally integrated, right behind it. I've got, let's see if, wrong way. This is a site plan. The white area at the bottom of the site plan is the existing building, and what you see immediately to the north of it is the surface parking lot. And then there are two other renderings of this proposed new building, 5 stories, and all of this, of course, gets to go to the Landmarks Commission. One, because the existing building is a National Register property, and 2, because it's within the Alphabet District. But that's what's proposed to be done with the site.
They would get rid of the building and put this piece of shit up.
Well, no, the existing building is not demolished, it's preserved. See? Voila.
The facade is, the public facing areas, the cool parts.
Yeah, but the interior would be pretty significantly reprogrammed. Of course, it's been reprogrammed at various points over its life. Much of its interior is not original issue from
Yeah.
1911.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. I think preserving that exterior is terrific because it really is an eye-catching building when you go down Everett.
Yeah, it is. No argument. This building needs to be saved, and it needs to be saved by somebody with deep enough pockets to do it. This is not a trivial project.
No,
Between the acquisition, the required preservation work, the new building, and the interior work on the existing building, this is north of a $20 million project.
mhm.
And the other part of this is, again, this is a piece of property that's been owned by a neighborhood-based organization for 44 years. We think the property is appreciated a bit in that period of time. The price paid for it in 1978 was $300,000. What's going to happen to the net sale proceeds? And net just means, yes, we have to pay a real estate broker to get this done. We got to pay a title company, the usual stuff, but that's it. After we've paid all that, we think there's going to be about $4.5 million left. It's going to be conveyed to a brand new fund at the Oregon Community Foundation called the Northwest Neighborhoods Fund, which will be able to make grants to applicants, which can include neighborhood associations like the Foothills League, like NWDA, like Hillside, for purposes that meet the goals of Northwest Neighborhoods Fund. And what are the goals? Promotion of neighborhood civic engagement, kind of like what we're up to here tonight. And I'm gonna look into ending.
I put those goals in the chat. They were already on there. I got them from your web.
Okay, good.
Yeah, and so you don't have, so people can just read them in the chat.
Sure, but long story short is the money's coming back to the 6 neighborhoods from which NNCEC currently draws its members, and the whole grant process and overseeing all of this will be handled by Oregon Community Foundation. And that was a judgment call because we, candidly, I've been involved with NNCC since 2006. And there have been periods where no one was paying a great deal of attention to what was going on. And, if nothing's happened, no one's paying attention. And, we needed focus and sustained attention in a way that would ensure that the financial asset continues to benefit the 6 neighborhoods, for another 50 or 100 years. And this is, what we've settled on to do that. Timing. Yes, we've got this meeting coming up on Tuesday evening, and assuming 2/3 of the folks who show up who are members, because they're going to be attorneys and architects and a bunch of non-member people there who don't get to vote. The transaction will probably close roughly at the end of September. And concurrent with the closing, the cash heads over to Northwest Neighborhoods Fund. And if you're an NNCC member, I would encourage you, take a look at our website, which is nnccpdx.com. and register for the meeting and show up and vote for this. It's important. If this doesn't happen, if this is defeated or for some other reason this transaction doesn't close, this is not going to be easy. First of all, the building loses its anchor tenant at the end of September, goes back on the tax rolls. That's worth about $60,000 a year. All other carrying costs of the building would become the responsibility of NNCC. And we could pay those for maybe a year or so, maybe less. But after that, there's nothing there. A majority of the current board of NNCC would probably resign to provide a free hand for those who oppose the sale to implement their own vision. Getting this to its current position is something that this board has been working on basically since the beginning of 2018. This is not simple, easy, or fast, and it's not going to be simple, easy, or fast for anyone who comes behind us. Another problem that an alternate vision would face is that if the sale is rejected by the membership, the real estate broker doesn't get paid. And that will make it much more difficult to find another real estate broker, because it'll be public knowledge that the bride was left at the altar, and it would just be much more difficult getting someone to assume those real estate brokerage responsibilities again. Something else I would point out the obvious. Northwoods Neighborhood Fund would remain unfunded and unable to provide any benefit to the neighborhoods. And right at the beginning of this board meeting, there was a discussion of residents that had been occupied for a brief period of time by transients who scented a fire. There are homeless people north of Burnside hanging out in this area, and the notion that you might face similar building security and preservation issues involving this building is definitely worth considering. It's not to be dismissed out of hand.
Can you please reiterate? So the vote is on September 26th, right?
Oh, no. It's on April 26th, like next Tuesday.
Okay, and what time is that?
6 p.m.
Okay.
This is a Zoom meeting. It is only open to NNCC members. You have to register in advance to get a link to attend the meeting. How do you register in advance? You go to the NNCC website, which is nnccpdx.com, and it's right in the middle of the homepage.
Okay.
Question for you, Doug. Are we members automatically because we're part of Goose Hollow Foothills League, or do we have to become members of NNCC?
You must register. You must be a member of NNCC to vote. And let me add kind of another scrap of information. You had to be a member of NNCC as of the record date. What's a record date? A record date is a date where so you have to be a member of an organization to participate in a following event. Why do we have record dates? Well, we have record dates because on several occasions there have been efforts to pack the membership and the board to take over the property. And this stuff happens. And a classic method of controlling that is you fix record dates and you basically make it difficult for people to join at the last minute.
Well, so what's the deadline has it passed already?
Yes, it has. March 27th was the record date. But one of the things people discover is that they attempt to register. We'll tell you if you're not a member. We'll invite you to join because there may be other things you may want to participate in the future. But you may pleasantly discover that you are a member and have been a member for years, just didn't pay much attention to it.
Yeah.
Doesn't cost anything.
Okay. Well,
right
darn, I'm sure we're a member. I'd vote for it.
Well, you might be. We have 520 members or so as of the record date. Of that 520, I think there were 41 from the Foothills League, because we kind of check to make sure you live in one of these 6 neighborhood associations. That's 8% of the total. So you're out there. Something I've done for other neighborhood organizations who wanted to look at this is I can send you a sort of NNCC members who are members by virtue of living within the boundaries of the Foothills League. And you can look the list over and say, gee, do I know anybody on this list? Can I encourage them to show up and vote and so forth? I'd be happy to do that for you if you'd like that.
Hey, Dan, are you ready to take some questions from people?
I am, please.
Okay, so go ahead and do the raise hand feature, and I'll just go ahead and call on you in place. I've been trying to unmute all to give you a chance to do that. So if you're having trouble unmuting yourself after the invitation, just let me know. So Sherry, you've had your hand up the longest.
Thank you. I have in my hand here from the Northwest Examiner on the front page. This is the latest one, and this is, I quote, "But the binding sales agreement documents, although not yet realized to the membership, will not require retention of landmark status," NNCC President Dan Anderson told the Northwest Examiner. My concern, and Steve went through this and underlined some of these things. I'm just very concerned that it's just going to be another thing that we see in Portland over and over again, which is, oh, we're going to promise we're not going to disturb the integrity of the neighborhood or the integrity of the building, and we're not going to ruin your neighborhood. And then it seems as though there's zero enforcement in the city, and somebody's going to get a hold of this and do whatever they want to make it an atrocious monstrosity. And I'm just really worried about that. It doesn't seem like, based on this article, that there's any teeth in any of this.
Hey, Dan, I think what she's saying is that, historic preservation is important to our neighborhood. Is there anything in the sales contract that requires them to, for instance, preserve the dome?
There's a restrictive covenant. First of all, the purchase and sale agreement includes the entire proposed form of deed, which would convey the property. The deed includes a restrictive covenant, which basically says that the dome and the public-facing facades, as these can be seen from the sidewalks along Everett 19th and 18th, shall be preserved.
All right, Tiffany.
Muted.
There we go. Sorry, it took me a minute to get that unmuted. For our guest, thank you so much for presenting today. I've got a question. Just being from the Goose Hollow neighborhood, I'm next to the Firehouse Theater, and there was, arts that came out of our neighborhood from that theater alone. And obviously the building was not kept up as well and became condemned. Kind of same situation, right? Unreinforced masonry, roof, whatever have you. And then homeless people got in there and started some fires and issues as well. And then the city of Portland, I think, or whomever, put a fence around it. But wouldn't it be great just to put these two together? Whoever bought yours would take care of ours too. I don't know, but I'm just thinking from our neck of the woods, it'd be nice to have arts back on our street there. And so we do have our own issues over there. We're trying to, do you know of Firehouse Theater and what they did in the past? And was there a relationship between the two buildings at all at any point?
I have attended performances at the Firehouse Theater when it was still a functioning theater. The folks who are proposing to purchase NNCC got there, via the web of the commercial real estate brokerage world. And I have no idea whether the current owner of Firehouse Theater is attempting to market it through that same web.
Okay, I think for us in our neighborhood, they were trying to propose it as a homeless shelter site, but it's sandwiched in between homes and it's really tight over there. And it just doesn't have the ideal footprint for that kind of thing. We would like to see it kind of, I shouldn't speak on behalf of the theater, but it would be nice to see it come back again because of our PSUs right there.
Who owns it today?
Hey, Jerry, do you know that question? I might pass this to you. I just brought it up because we have our own issues in our own neighborhood with our own theater.
Sure.
City of Portland owns it.
Yeah, well, and as we know, they're extremely efficient linear decision makers.
Hey, Jerry, question. Go ahead.
Dan, You mentioned folks that had been members of the service center. And I'm pretty sure I was a member in the 80s, but after several moves within the neighborhood, I don't think that it has any idea whether I still exist or not. Should I be able to find that out by the method you suggested?
Yeah, a very straightforward method is simply attempt to register for next Tuesday's meeting. I can tell you that one of the things that we do is at least once a year, we attempt to communicate with our membership by first class US mail. Yes, of course, there's content in the mailing, but we also get undeliverable letters returned back to us, which tells us that this individual is no longer reachable at their address of record. And and sometimes we know the story and we can correct it. And when we don't know the story and aren't able to correct it, they get removed from the membership. So there's a good chance that if you moved at some point, we tried to send you a letter and it came back undeliverable. On the other hand, I know, Jerry, you've been involved in things involving land use in the Foothills League geography roughly forever. And go ahead and try and register and I'll see what's going on.
I remember going to cultural center, service center meetings in the 80s and 90s, but yeah, I have had several addresses in Goose Hollow since then.
Yeah, it's we have put a couple of folks who have sort of, for their various reasons, sort of back on the membership roster who were inappropriately deleted, just sort of following our usual maintenance protocols. And you may well qualify for that also. I'm certainly aware of your continuous residence and continuous engagement in the geography of the Foothills League running back decades.
I'm just going to try to shortcut this because we've only assigned like 30 minutes to this. But anybody else want to ask questions, Alan or Fred?
Yeah, I have a few questions. Why are we just hearing about this now? It's 5 days before the decision. It's past the opportunity for any non-member to sign up. This information could have been put out in plenty of time so those interested could then become members and participate.
Right.
That's right.
That's just a why. Now, the goal was mentioned, saving this building for 50 years. The deed covenant only covers 20 years. Any preservation is only bound by a covenant for 20 years. And in terms of whether it will be the full shell or just 3 walls, we have a difference between public claims and what's in the agreement. And the agreement just says the 3 facades as seen by the public from those streets. We don't know if that includes anything more than just the walls. The founders company has not had a pre-application meeting with the city. No developer really knows what they can do until they have a pre-app, particularly with one complicated connections here because of historic preservations. They have scheduled their pre-app meeting for the day after this meeting. So presumably if they're voted down, they don't have to waste their time attending the meeting. But there are many, I have great faith in community members to be able to sort pro and con statements and deliberate and come to good decisions, but not when they haven't heard the whole thing. That's my point.
Thank you, Alan. Fred, did you have a comment? I don't know if you're still online. Anybody else? I don't see any raised hands.
I have one further comment. Since Alan brings up the pre-app that was the notice came out yesterday. In that pre-application conference notice, the developer says that he's planning on having valet parking using the lot quote, quote, on the other side of Everett Street. Well, just coincidentally, I sit in the Building and Grounds Committee of Trinity, which owns that lot. And Trinity has heard nothing about any intent to use its lot for parking. It makes me wonder about the I guess the care that the developer has used in developing this proposal. And is there anything any rejoinder?
I've got the developer's assertions. I've never seen any agreement with them. Do you know Ross Cornelius?
Very well.
Okay. I've had one long discussion with Ross about all of this, and we did touch sort of briefly on leased access to Trinity's parking. Whether it went any further than that with Trinity's sort of Building and Grounds Committee and folks who focus on those kinds of things at Trinity, I have no idea.
The Building and Grounds Committee met earlier this afternoon, and nobody can figure out, well, Ross wasn't there today, but it apparently didn't go any further than Ross.
Sure, and I certainly didn't ask him to look at anything, and this was, I had some commercial dealings with Ross 3 decades ago, and as much as anything, our conversation was sort of about, well, what's happened to you in the last 30 years? But we did sort of touch briefly on NNCC and its situation and potential sale of the building. So,
all right, I'm just gonna wrap this up. So my understanding is that the date for applying as a member to NNCC has passed for just about all of us. So really, we're just going to be waiting on the sidelines and perhaps maybe talking with those who are members to maybe influence their vote if in fact, we want to go in that direction. But I know I'm going to kind of repeat what everybody else has said, which we're kind of disappointed that we're just finding out that there's a deadline to vote. In our bylaws, it's 24 hours, I think, just long enough to kind of prove that you're a neighbor in our that the documents that you submitted are actually valid. And so we have the same kind of court packing issues that every other organization has of having a mass group of people registering at the last minute, but we've made the determination that having more participation is worth it rather than less. So I'm sure a lot of people will be tracking this. It's a neat building. I do hope that the really nice picture that we've seen, if the deal goes through, is something that we're going to end up with. I know that people fear, based on kind of experience, that we're maybe not going to receive that. So we're going to have to investigate how to work with the city if the deal goes through to ensure that there is kind of a maintenance of this historic structure, because it's an amenity that it would be hard to miss. So we wish you the best of luck, Dan, and I really appreciate you coming and informing us about this and everybody else's attendance and good questions.
Sure. A couple of things. It is a primary contributing asset in the Alphabet District. It's a National Register property. Anyone who wants to do anything with this other than burn it down by accident by a transient, we'll spend a bunch of time dealing with the city on this. There'll be a lot of eyes on this.
Yeah, well, we've had a building in our neighborhood that was basically demolition by neglect, actually several, that were knocked down because the argument was made to the city that it was a derelict building and it was a nuisance, because people were camping inside. So I do hope that nothing like that happens with this building for sure.
If you don't get it into the hands of a well-capitalized, strong hands owner, that trajectory is a very real possibility here.
Mhm. All right, well, I appreciate it, Dan. We're going to move on to our next agenda, so you're free to go.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
So we do have a lot of issues to go through, so we're just going to kind of touch on each of these. The next one was kind of proposed by Tiffany. I don't know how serious you were. I think it was just kind of an FYI about the clean air endorsement letters. And frankly, I think the feedback that I got from people via email is that there's just so much there that it's difficult to kind of discuss in a meeting, especially one that we really haven't been able to prepare for. There's just so many letters to look through. There's no possible way that we can do any endorsement. Does somebody, rather than kind of discuss it here, does somebody want to take that on and then report at the next meeting, like Sherry? Yes, you. I know, I'm talking to you. No, you can't hide behind the mute button. You got
Oh my goodness. I thought that I'm sorry. I was in a gate. Can you repeat again? I was in a.
I just volunteered you for about 20 hours worth of work. Are you willing to do it?
What do you want me to do now?
The clean air letters that were circulated to the board members.
Uh-huh.
I need somebody to review them and then give us a report on what they're asking for and kind of recommendations on whether we should endorse one or all. The issue
I never got
we
this.
have industrial polluters in our neighborhood. The biggest issue we have are the hazmat trucks that go through our neighborhood. And so that's kind of, the top issue that I want to make sure that we address rather than kind of, spend a whole lot of time in support of other neighborhoods that seem to have a lot of signatories to their letters already. So are you willing to go ahead and read those letters and give us a report?
I never got them.
Okay, I'll make sure that you get them.
Okay, so I have an assignment now.
You do.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, Sherry.
Yes, dear. Yes, dear. What is it?
He's going, go, Sherry, go.
Oh my.
Yeah. All right, I'll make sure that you get, does anybody else have an issue with that? Jerry or I mean, Tiffany, do you want to make a comment?
You can't talk.
Perfect. Thank you. You know what's kind of nice is muting me and not giving me the chance to talk, because then other people get to talk. So that's great. I just wanted to let you know I did pass the baton off to the Goose Hollow board with the clean air, because yes, I am the safety livability co-chair. And I know the woman that gave me the information, and I do recognize, I mentioned to her that we have so much going on in Goose Hollow right now. And we have to start from our ground up. It's hard to look up at the sky when your ground is obviously contaminated and you have issues. So I told her that we have other pressing issues. So don't feel completely stressed, but please, Sherry, I need your extra eyes to look through all these documents. I just don't have the bandwidth. But I also to let her know that the Clean Air Rep, that we are part of a 13 neighborhood coalition. And really, if she really wants bang for buck, it's probably to go to the neighbors west northwest and try to figure out what they want to do with this as well. Because I mean, we could support another neighborhood that's not even in our coalition, or they could go to the coalition, give them a little project too. Because I think, Sherry, the pressure, maybe have you look it over, but also have the neighbors west northwest look it over too, and make sure that we're in alignment with our coalition. I don't know, Scott, what do you think?
Yeah, well, I can certainly bring it up, but Rick's got a lot on his plate right now. Rick Knuven is the president of Neighbors West Northwest Coalition. Hey, Sherry, I just want to remind you that, so the email with our agenda that you had received, and you must have received it because you clicked to join our meeting. The second bullet point is titled Clean Air Letter Endorsement with a sentence, and at the end are links. One link is called Letters, and then one link is called Summary Report. Those are the letters and reports that you need to review.
You're muted.
I'm sorry. Okay, I guess I'm just trying to, I'll be sure and read it. Steve forwarded this to me. I've been having trouble, getting emails. So
okay.
I look at the letter and you want me, saying that another pair of eyes.
Yeah.
It's unclear to me what I'm looking for exactly.
You're looking to give us recommendations on what they're asking for and whether we should support it. That's it. But it's
Okay.
a ton of pages that because I'm giving this to you, you're doing all the work and we're not.
Okay,
Okay.
that's fine. You trust me an awful lot, don't you?
I do, Sherry. So do us proud.
My
Can I ask
best.
you a question?
Yeah. Sure.
So you said that we already are concerned with diesel particulate. We already had a presentation on that and so on, right? I remember that meeting.
Yeah.
What if Sherry goes through, just to keep things simple, what if Sherry goes through these? I've seen diesel particulate in multiple ones of these letters. Why don't we just go through, and the ones that are concerned about diesel particulate, go ahead and approve of those, because that's already a concern we have in our neighborhood, and that would certainly simplify the process of going through there's a lot of detail in these papers.
David, are you talking about letters that we've already approved?
No, I'm talking about the letters that these 10 letters or whatever, many of them talk about diesel particulate. And didn't you just say a minute ago that that's what we're concerned about in Goose Hollow?
It's more than that. It's just the hazardous materials that some of these large trucks that come through our neighborhood could expose the neighborhood to. And it's not just that. They're not allowed to be coming through our neighborhood with the hazardous materials, but also even if they're empty, as they're bouncing around, it causes a lot of noise and disturbance.
Okay, I get it. I just remember that we had a guy come and present to us the issues involved in Goose Hollow specifically with really high diesel particulate counts. And I thought if we already had approved something along those lines, it would be simple for us. But
Right.
I didn't realize that our issue primarily was with trucks,
Dave,
like diesel trucks coming.
Dave, I passed on the phone number for, his name is Greg Bouquet.
Yeah.
And that's all we really had. I never got any real contact back with him except to affirm the relationship. And I'd like to state that I am still watching for the trucks. So
Thank you, Doug.
right by my one of my computer desks. I just, waiting for them.
Good. Yeah, more eyes on the ground.
Actually, Doug, there was a tractor trailer tanker last Sunday night at 10:15.
Why do they do it at Sunday night? They're sneaking by. It really is.
Exactly.
I stopped watching at 8. I don't know why they do it. Yeah, that's the third time on Sunday. It's been in the afternoon and the evening.
We'll get him. We'll get him. All right, last thing, Tiffany. Yeah, please don't unmute yourself. Unless you have noisy kids in the background, please.
Yep, here we go. No, I don't have any kids in the background. Question for you. When I'm thinking of Goose Hollow, and this could be just me, and I don't want to put my opinions on all of you, but right now when I watch the climate conversations right now in Portland, there's this big push right now. We're losing our advocacy for tree plantings in Portland. We are also having this big climate push, to do all this stuff. But I'm over here looking in Goose Hollow. We just lost another 50-foot tree 2 weeks ago off of Montgomery to a unsheltered camping fire at the Curtis Hale apartment area. That tree that was up right there went up in flames. This is just like last year where we were losing absolutely large trees once every 7 to 10 days in Goose Hollow alone. I almost think that is a huge issue for us because it not only aesthetically, it takes away our tree lines that we're used to and accustomed to in our neighborhood. PSU has a tree still burnt up to a crisp, a large one that's laying on the ground that no one has bucked up yet. And so my question is, do we advocate for more tree plantings in our neighborhood to help offset this? Or do we, where do we put our energies? I think that's what I say. I'm on the tree thing. What are we doing about losing our trees? Where's our fire bureau? Where's our advocacy for the neighborhood? Do we go for the trucks or the trees? And at this point, I'm going for the trees.
Well, I trust in Sherry to give us an appropriate recommendation. I think that trees I'm just guessing, trees are on her radar. Is that true? Yeah.
I think so.
Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and move on. Catherine or Linda, I guess. Give us a presentation on the postcard.
Go ahead, Catherine.
Well, I just want to reiterate, Linda, before you just bring up that card. I know I was hard to hear earlier, so I apologize for that. But I just want to cover the cost. I did actually have a chance to look, and the original quote is for $21.75. So I do expect it to go up a little bit on top of that, just based on the cost. And like I said, the update that she sent me recently, I think, is missing something because the price isn't quite right on there. So I'm going to take another look at that. But yeah, we have some thoughts on it. Linda has a new design for the background to share, and we're hoping that this is kind of the final review of this, and that we can wrap it up and send it out. We're really excited about it.
Yeah, I do have a couple of questions. First of all, on the banners, they have like a 3x5 and then a 2x3. And I was thinking a 2x3 is more practical. And they also provide smaller banners, and giving away smaller banners along with the things to hang them up with would be appropriate. It doesn't cost that much. I'll make sure that the costs are covered if we run over budget. But I think a 2x3 is a nice size. I know we want to get this out. We need to get this out in the next 6 weeks.
Yeah.
I think is probably right, because I'm going to be gone a good part of June and middle of July. So we're going to be working on getting it mailed out, right, Catherine? You know, probably in the May timeframe. So so that's that.
Okay. Well, I only have two suggestions. One is when you reference the artist, is to mention that they are a Lincoln High School student, because that was important because they're a member of our neighborhood. The problem is, I don't know if they're still a Lincoln High School student. I don't know if it even matters whether we say current or former or just say Lincoln High School student, because they certainly were when they submitted the artwork. Catherine?
I think,
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Linda.
yeah, we should be able to associate that with Lincoln High School somehow.
Yeah, I think we can put that on the back of the card. That's actually a really wonderful suggestion, Scott.
Okay.
And I think
Yeah.
given Lark is her name, and I think she's probably graduated. She may be a senior this year or on her way out, but maybe I'll try and connect just to let her know that this is up and happening. I've been kind of hesitant to reach out and let her know because it's just been sort of slow moving. So I think that's great, actually. I think that's a wonderful suggestion.
And then the second one is, since it looks like that we have a date for the barbecue or for the annual picnic, I didn't know if you wanted to put that on the card as well. The only thing I don't know yet is the time, but I can get that for you if that's something that you wanted to put on the card.
And
You
that
know-
date is what, Scott?
That's August 7th.
Got it.
You know, Scott, I think what we really decided was, and I like to push back on putting a date on there, is that we really want people to sign up and become a Goose Hollow member or we really wanted them to go to the website. And that's kind of where we put the emphasis on the postcard. I really hate to put a date on there, and if you end up changing it, would be a little awkward. So just hoping that we can get people interested in going to the website and finding out about the date of the picnic, and put it in our newsletter, whatever that is. I'm just nervous since we want to get this out the door. If you end up changing the date, something
Well,
happens.
I suppose it's possible that the date can change, but this is the only day available in the summer, and we were lucky
Oh.
to get it. And so I just got confirmation from the Timbers today that we have that date, and it's just a matter of getting the details together, what the time is.
Okay.
So we do have it. It's pretty much set. It's, I was trying to figure out a way to keep the card from going into the round file right away. Oh, that's interesting. Maybe I'll sign up. It might be something that they want to, magnetize to their fridge or something like that. If there's a quote unquote ticket or, entry fee or something like that, or a prize, something like that, so that they can keep the postcard around for a little bit longer.
Yeah. How did people get into the picnic before? They just walked in and said, I live in Goose Hollow?
So we had a list. So we had a list of people that were members, and we checked them off the list. If they wanted to become a member, then we had paperwork to allow them to do it. There was, we would check their driver's license to get them in. And we did have 130 people come last year, and hopefully we'll get, that or more this time around. So.
Okay. All right.
So I don't want to make any big last minute changes. If you really think that it doesn't make any sense to put on there, I totally support you. So.
Well, okay.
Maybe what we could do is put something on there, some small thing that, because like the banners that we're talking about, it would be really fun to be able to maybe give those out at the picnic or something like that, or something, so we could say, this is a ticket. I don't really know how to say that, but I think there may be a way to like add a line or two where people will still want to like keep this around or go to the website and be able to show up and use that as a ticket for the picnic, because there is something kind of nice about that idea.
Yeah. Okay. We'll do that. We got to do that the next week or so,
Yeah.
and then we're gonna ship it out the door.
Okay.
Also, the other thing is we've got this drawing, and Scott, if you could tell me who I could contact to find out where we get the list of new members, that would be great. How do we know who's a member and when they signed up?
Wait, just to turn it
on. Well, I mean, I can certainly give you that list.
Okay.
Because I'm the one that sends out the emails to everybody. And so we use MailChimp, and they have kind of, and whenever we get new people signing up as members, I need to actually manually enter it into this list. Because when
Okay.
Neighbors West Northwest gets the documentation, I expected that they would enter it, and they don't, unfortunately. So I need to do it separately. So they enter them as members. I have to enter them as, okay, now that they're members, they can start getting email correspondence.
Okay. So you'll keep track of that, and then we'll just decide at some point to do the drawing.
Yes,
Perfect.
so you can
Thank you.
send me all that information about new members. I can make sure that it gets sent to Neighbors West Northwest, and between the two of us, we can get them on the appropriate lists.
Okay, great.
Can I just want to circle back to the price estimate. I know that Linda mentioned the banners, and they did give us an estimate, and they definitely do cost some money. I mean, it's not a ton, of course, but is there a way to get approval up to a certain amount for us to be able to, like, I think one banner is $120 or something along those lines, plus the pole and things like that. So I don't want
Oh,
Linda to have
Catherine,
to
why don't you
cover
make a motion?
Yeah, great. So can we make a motion to get maybe $350 to budget to pick some sort of a banner or flag or something along those lines for?
Ooh.
Great.
Yeah. Let's just go for 350. Going.
Great, I'm going.
Okay, any discussion? If not, we'll hold the vote.
I do have one question, or just a point of clarification. I know that we have a ton of those tote bags somewhere. I saw them after I paid my dues with Goose Holidays. We had an event and we had a surplus. I think that might also be a good way to incentivize people to join, and everyone can be a winner per se. Or possibly, if we don't use them in this particular kind of situation as a giveaway, if we could use those things, because they're evergreen, which Linda pointed out is so important. They don't have a date, they don't have a year, except for the year we were established. But those are gold because we can reuse them. And if we could incentivize folks to attend our events or engage by giving them things, we know across the board, whether it's a survey, in any industry, people love free things. So if we have those tote bags and those shirts, because I think we mentioned there's a giveaway of the flag, which is amazing, but let's just keep those maybe in the back of our minds for future events, because look at that beautiful shirt. And I'm a huge fan of tote bags because you don't have to worry about the sizing, and I try to be sensitive to that. But I know we had some really nice tote bags. I hoarded like 4 of them, and I've given them to I gave one to my friend and a neighbor, and they just loved the logo. But going back to the flags, $350, would that mean we could buy only two?
Yeah, go ahead, Linda. Sorry.
Well, we could buy a big one, a 2x3, and then we can get also 12x18. We can get several of those, you know. So I'm thinking 12x18s are a little bit more practical. You know, have one big one, 2x3, but they could go for the smaller ones. Most people in Goose Hollow, I think most people don't have a home. There are not a lot of single family homes here, right? It's mostly condos and apartments.
Yeah.
So the 12x18 might be more practical.
All right, are we ready for a vote?
I like the
All in
feedback.
favor of the idea of $350 into Catherine's bank account, raise your hand. No, $350 for prizes for people who's new members who sign up. Raise your hand. Okay, I am seeing everyone. That's unanimous vote of those online. And thank you. Is there anything else?
Yeah. Bridget, do you know where those are? Where those totes are?
Yeah, Scott, do you know where the tote bags are?
Yeah,
Are they all in your house?
we have all of that stuff.
I love that. I love those totes, but that's a great idea to be able to use that kind of stuff
Yeah.
too. I'd hate to think that they would go to waste just sitting in a box. It's such a cool logo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. So we know where the totes and the t-shirts are, and ladies, they're at your discretion, but if not, we can repurpose them hopefully for the picnic when we promote that. I did want to just say like two more things. I love that you used a QR code. I really appreciate you taking that next step to be digital and modern, because the reality of the situation is that at least younger demographics and olders, because QR codes are how we get menus now at restaurants. They're all around us. I just really appreciate you being kind of having the foresight and taking the work to develop that QR code. I think that's going to make a huge difference, and I'm hopeful the numbers are big. I don't know if everyone on this call has already seen the artwork that student from Lincoln High School did, or all the work that Linda did on the back end to design this. This is a well-produced postcard. The artwork is slick. The call to action on the back, it is crystal clear. It is inclusive. It checks all the boxes. People pay a lot of money to do stuff like this, and we're getting away with this for, I think, under $2,000, which is a steal. So I just want to say thank you. I really appreciate everything you did on the back end to make us look really good.
Well, thanks, Bridget.
Yes, thank you. All right, moving on. I want to very quickly dispose of this. So Goose Hollow Days 2022. It's not too early to start on this because, as you know, it's just a tremendous amount of work. So I want to establish a committee to look at this issue and then report back at the next meeting whether we should even go forward with it. So Catherine, I noticed that Sean is not on the call. I hope he's not ducking us, but is there something you can say like on his behalf?
I think she's muted. You got to unmute Catherine.
Okay.
Hi, I'm here. I'm sorry. Scott, can you repeat that for me? I'm having headphone issues.
So Goose Hollow Days 2022, I said that the only member of this subcommittee to kind of look at the issue that needs to be on there right now is Sean, just to give some continuity from last year. And I need maybe one or two other volunteers to look at this issue, see what might be involved, see if Zion Lutheran is willing to put some sweat equity into it as well, because they were invaluable last time. And then kind of investigate where we might have it. If we're going to have it in the same location, if we have it along that new street, 17th in front of, or I guess behind Lincoln High School, if we have it by the stadium, just to give us some idea of, whether it might be possible to hold it this year in 2022. Because it took a lot of work to get it off the ground last year, but it was really nice once we did it. I mean, it was really nice to see everyone out and about, and I think it was a very positive event. So do I see any volunteers? Yes, Sherry.
You need to unmute her.
I keep on trying to unmute. everyone.
Unmute. Okay, I'm unmuted, right? I'm okay. And can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's the thing. Are we going to get box 7 developed? Are they going to start doing it work on the summer? What do you know the status on that?
I don't. And that is all part of the discussion. So, it would be like hey, we talked to the MAC and they're definitely starting construction on this date and they're going to fence it off and there's no way that we would be allowed to, use the sidewalks on the, adjacent those streets. So that would be part of the discussion. So we'd have to look at alternatives. So we don't know, no.
Well, okay, if I were to volunteer, do you know who I would talk? I mean, can somebody give me a direction of who to talk to?
I would say that if you want to volunteer, just get with Sean. And then Sean will send you in the right direction because that's one of the kind of questions to answer.
Is there anyone else that would like to volunteer?
And Sherry, I will say one of the great things about kind of as we backtrack and we think about doing this in the future, even if we don't do it this year, is Sean took, I mean, this thing is impressive and terrifying, a detailed Excel sheet with like sheets upon sheets and cell upon cell of who to contact, who we talked to, what was done, just so you get a scope of it, but more importantly, to answer your direct questions, so you know who our point of contact was at the MAC, because we had two. And I know that we have a point of contact, I can't remember her name right now, that we can work with directly just to answer that specific question. So if you do end up joining that committee, you will have plenty of resources and you'll be pointed in the right direction.
So is Sean still going to be on the committee?
Even if he's not, we have that Excel sheet. That's something I can forward you as well.
Okay, is there somebody else that wants to help me with it? I'm just starting to have a panic attack of no one helping me.
No. Sean, well, we volunteered Sean in absentia. And we have someone with a lot more leverage over him than we do on the call. So hopefully we can use her for that purpose.
Okay, so
Bridget, I was wondering if you could speak to what the Zion people, how crucial they were to the effort.
Sure, Lori. You guys know I have opinions, but I'm going to try to be concise and to the point. I volunteered with Foothills League, with Goose Hollow Days. Mostly my role was just as treasurer. We met every week, and that's where I met Melody from the church, and she was instrumental. And so we're going to have to find someone to host these weekly meetings, manage all these emails. She managed almost all of the communications. She set up all of the performers. She helped with things like porta potties. She lined up all the vendor forms. It was, from an events perspective, she was basically our events liaison and coordinator. And she also provided kind of a space and volunteers independently of her. I mean, Scott and Tracy are running around. Jerry Powell's shoveling leaves off the street because they weren't done in time. I was up at 6 in the morning trying to get cars towed unsuccessfully. And we were spread so thin and we didn't get the permit that we needed. There were already hiccups on top of all of the work Melody did to organize. Again, I'm just going to reemphasize it. She lined up all of the acts, and that's not just saying these people are going to show up. It's the logistics of it. She contacted all of the vendors. She had the vendor forms. She was the point of contact for that. I just put them in touch with her. So if we do proceed, and I'm not saying we shouldn't, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer. Maybe we could even meet with her, even if it's just for an hour, to go through what she did step by step, because yes, we have detailed Excel sheets. Yes, there are people on this call who like put blood, sweat, and tears into this thing and showed up to those weekly meetings. But we need to talk to her to find out what she actually did to do those things that I just listed, because I don't know about the back end of that.
So how do we get a hold of her though? I mean, hasn't she moved out of the area?
I think we have her email and her phone number.
And it hasn't
Maybe she could
changed.
dial in. I hope she hasn't changed it. Maybe she did, because we were a handful, but I think we could probably email her and call her. And I know that their Instagram is still active. I don't know who's managing it. So I'm hopeful that we could reach out to her and maybe she would give us a little more of her time to walk us through what she did. I think that's a really good idea.
All right. Okay. So we have a subcommittee. Laurie, I didn't know if you wanted to be a member of the subcommittee to look at it. This is simply the subcommittee to look at whether we should host it, not to actually handle the organization. That's something different. So I don't want to sign people up for something that they're not ready or willing to yet. This is simply just to give us a heads up on what might be involved and how far away we are from realizing that. Because last year when we hosted in October, it might have been a little late from a weather standpoint. It would be nice to host it when the weather was a little nicer, when the days were a little longer. So sometime in September at the latest.
I wonder if the event could be like reimagined to not be, such an elaborate kind of thing. I mean, you need quite an extensive network and of, community groups and performers. And it sounds like this Melody was quite, a event planner, and with the Sean's expertise with the tracking on the spreadsheet, that's quite a lot of expertise, that has to be filled in, which, I certainly don't have any of that great skills that were mentioned. So, I mean, could it be like a simpler kind of event rather than, being so complicated, like
I love the word
neighborhoods
reimagine.
do like
That's
block
awesome.
parties and stuff?
So Laurie, I can tell you a little bit about why we have performers, because it is a lot of extra work getting the sound system up and, getting the performers do it. That it's basically extra people that come and enjoy the block party. So if you can,
Right, yeah.
you can imagine the girls choir showing up and you have like 30 girls and then 30 parents on top of that, that's 60 people that are coming to our block party that normally wouldn't come. If you have the flash mob dancers coming and then bringing their kids or something like that, which is what happened last year, it's the same thing. So you're talking about with the performers that you have, potentially, 1 or 2 or maybe even 300 additional people that come, not to mention the added entertainment value of it as well. But it is extra work. There's no doubt about it.
Well, maybe that's something you could decide in the in this committee, exploration committee meeting, whether you want to do the same kind of event as last year, whether you want to do, whether you think it's better to do something more stripped down or not at all.
Okay.
It looks like Tiffany has her hand up.
Yeah, Tiffany.
She needs to be unmuted.
Hi, just as a heads up, I asked a few of you if, with permission, if we could maybe extend communications with the business district or business group out there in Goose Hollow to see if they could join forces with us for Goose Hollow days and, kind of stand in for what Melody did at Zion. I did reach out to the presidents of the stadium district group, business district group, and they're interested for sure. Now, once again, as long as we stay in our lanes and respect each other and communicate, this is a good opportunity for the residential league to work with the business community, because we have to also recognize post-COVID, many of our small businesses are struggling right now and they need these wins. And so this is our time where we could work together. They could take roles and we can have roles. And I think our small businesses and our restaurants and our community members and Goose Hollow Inn could really be that what we're looking for here. So and we have to remember Goose Hollow Days is our neighborhood association's annual event. So no one could take that from us. It's just we need our people of our community to step forward for roles. So anyway, there's my 2 cents, and I love this idea. And so they said yes, they're interested, and they wanted me to tell you all they loved the postcard. I shared it with them, and I said this is a win for the neighborhood. Yes, yet again, because I don't want Goose Hollow Foothills League to think that we're just Goose Hollow is full of just residents. No, we're actually intertwined with small businesses and schools, institutions, and the Mat Club and the Timber Stadium and everything else that makes Goose Hollow special. So this is our time to work together. Thank you.
All right. If there are no other points, I really would like to move on. The subcommittee is going to be discussing and the possibility, I like exploratory committee or exploration committee. Take your pick on terminology, and then we'll just hear from them next month, just because we need to get going. We can't wait any longer if we're going to actually host it during good weather season. So thank you, everybody. Tiffany, is there some way that you can give us maybe, just a few minute summary on the homeless encampment update? Do not unmute yourself again, Tiffany. Otherwise, I will. I know where you live.
There's the official invite to unmute. Okay. Okay, really quick. I apologize. I put in the chat feed a lot of information there. It's just because I just don't have time to cover everything. But in regards to the unsheltered crisis, in a nutshell, you're watching Mayor Wheeler right now with 2 emergency orders. You're seeing tents flurrying around. Our last tent count for Goose Hollow was about 100 tents, and 40 of that were just right outside Goose Hollow's doorstep, right there on 13th Avenue at Outside Inn. And as many of you see, the tents are flurrying around. They're moving around. Huckup team is moving tents at a faster pace that we have seen in 2 years. So we're seeing people that we have been seeing for the last 2 years in one spot now getting moved around. So I haven't done tent counts yet this month just because I need to figure out where everybody's going. So, and originally I thought those 40 tents that were all along 13th Avenue in front of Outside Inn, I thought they were actually going to be relocated right into Goose Hollow, right there in the midline of Goose Hollow, but they actually shot over to 12th Avenue. And you probably see as you're exiting our neighborhood, the Korean church is being taken up right now and other areas. So just to let you all know, tents don't disappear when they're relocated or moved. They go to somewhere else until we have actual places for people to go, or we enforce our laws or help guide people to those services they truly need. They're going to stay there on the sidewalks. And so just as a heads up, you're going to see Mayor Wheeler here in the next few weeks, again, pushing more concerns. And you're seeing 2 different political views of Portland right now. You're seeing the, I'm going to label it as the People for Portland push, where we need to go to a mass sheltering model to get people quickly connected with a roof over their head, whether it be a shelter or what have you. They don't care as long as people are getting connected as soon as possible. Then you have the other political arena that says, no, we're going to wait for affordable housing in the future. It could take years, but we got to get those dream homes built for them. Until then, we're going to leave them on the sidewalks. And so Portland's really, really grappling with what we call a houseless crisis. It's not an affordable housing crisis. It's a houseless crisis for us in downtown because we have houseless individuals. And so we really need to figure out whether we get them into a shelter or we wait for affordable housing. So see the affordable housing crisis? No, it's a houseless issue. Someone said that to me the other day and I'm like, you're right, because technically they're houseless and we have a place to put them. And whether it's a federal affordable housing or whether it's shelter, I don't have the answers to that. We just know that we have to get people quickly connected, because being in Goose Hollow, we hit our record number tent counts in March 6th. That was what, 100 tents with 40 of them right there, not even counted our Goose Hollow. That's our record breaking amounts. We're seeing downtown and Old Town are starting to purge their tents and they're coming towards neighborhoods because they don't just disappear. And so we need to advocate for our neighborhood and keep and make sure that our houseless folks get connected somehow. And so,
so Tiffany, just in short, are you saying that the number of tents is pretty much staying the same? Is it going down a little bit?
Well, we hit in March 6th, we hit our record breaking. That was 100 tents that we've never hit. We about 146 if you count right there on 13th, right there. That's a lot of people right there.
Right, but is it going down? Is it going down, up, or staying the same?
I don't know, because they're moving all around. So I'm hoping that once they settle, we could figure them out. I mean, I'm sure many of you on this call, David Delaney, you even texted me and said, tents are moving. So I need to figure out where those tents are going. And I'm also noticing, I don't know about all of you guys, but up on the Vista Ridge right there, I see tents are now popping up in the tree lines. And so I'm trying to figure out, are they going further into our forested lands right there up behind Goose Hollow? Where are they going? things. So we need to figure that out. So give me some bearings to figure that out.
Okay.
And also let me know. But in the meantime, you're watching two different opinions on how we handle our unsheltered crisis. I don't think Goose has the answers, but I'm gonna let you all decide on that because the elections are coming up and this might be a political thing. I don't know. But in the meantime, I wanted to tell you a little bit about the unsheltered crisis. We hit out that winter storm with snow, and our city and our county were not prepared for that yet again. This is not a shocker. This is like the third time the city and the county failed to during a winter or a heat warming advisory to help our neighborhoods. And so the burdens hit our neighborhood greatly. I was down there in Goose Hollow. There was people that were freezing cold that needed to be connected. And so once again, I want to say thank you to this neighborhood because we offered the option of radio cab. I had a woman out there that had no shoes on her feet, and I was working with her to get her radio cab to a place that was warmer. This is unacceptable. And our Goose Hollow neighborhood needs to recognize that they have the money and the resources. This is getting mismanaged clearly. And so neighborhoods had to pull together. You saw your churches out there that were checking on neighbors. The city and the county asked us to check on our neighborhoods. No, do your job. We've been doing this for 2 years. We need the right people taking care of this crisis. And lastly, Mark Jolin was the head of the joint office. If you saw, he resigned from his position and a new person has stepped into that position. So I'm definitely interested in what this person thinks. I think her name is Shannon. Forgive me, I forgot her last name, but we need to figure out what they're going to do for future responses because that puts the burdens on the neighborhood associations the neighborhoods itself. Thank you.
Thanks. Hey, one question for Sherry, and then Laurie, I don't know if you wanted to give the report on public safety, parking, and transportation. You kind of indicated that you'd be going to the meeting yesterday and would report. So, but the question for Sherry is, Tracy and I were walking along Lewis and Clark along the, in the park, in Washington Park, and we saw a lot of coats kind of hanging off of a chain link fence. And it was so close to your apartment complex or the condo complex that it couldn't have been coincidence. Is that something that you guys did?
No, I've been collecting and having been calling Tiffany, and I think Ivan, and there was another gentleman. In fact, I have another bag of stuff to give. No, I've just been collecting shoes and coats, and it's expanded now into sweatshirts and stockings to go inside the shoes. So we've been collecting stuff, but I don't know what you're talking about. But certainly that would have been nice to collect all those coats to put in a bag to give to Tiffany's people.
Well, does anybody know what I'm talking about, or do I sound like a crazy person?
You don't sound crazy. It's just I want to know where to pick them up so I can call Ivan.
No, I mean, it looks like that they're actually hung up on hangers, hanging off of the chain link fence, where any homeless person can say, "Oh, that looks like my size," and go ahead and. But they looked fancy coats.
Wow.
So I thought maybe it was your complex that was responsible. Doug, did you have a comment on that?
What you saw isn't what I saw. I'm always seeing stuff left by campers who move, and they sometimes hang stuff on fences.
This was about 20 coats on 20 hangers.
That's
where was it? Where was it?
So if you go up to Washington Park, and you know how you need to turn right in order to go in the right direction. Don't turn right, turn left and walk maybe 100 feet down the road, and it'll be, or maybe even not even that, maybe 50 feet. It's on your left.
Near the reservoir?
Yes, on the reservoir side, but it's close to the entrance. It's not as close to the reservoir.
It's not us. You were the little condo with the swimming pool. So if I were to go outside my condo, I would go out and make a right. So I would be going out my condo and making a left.
Yeah.
But that is really interesting that somebody is
extraordinarily intentional. Yes.
But I have to say, I was kind of impressed with some of the donations people made for my building. I mean, we have, Patagonia donations and North Face. I mean, people are buying and donating quality stuff. I guess they get tired of wearing it, and Tiffany's putting them to good use, right, Tiffany?
All right, Laurie, did you want to give the report for public safety, parking, and transportation?
She's muted.
I asked her to unmute.
There.
I'm all right.
Oh, yeah, I did go to that meeting yesterday. I think Linda was there as well. So Linda, did you have any takeaways from that meeting?
Yeah, I've got a couple things. Do you want me to go ahead?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Okay, well, they had a couple of things that I wasn't aware of. It was a really well-organized meeting. She did a great job running it. Duncan Huang from the Metro came and talked about their climate smart strategy, but I'm just going to mention the things that you guys might be interested in. Climate change, a lot of the greenhouse gases is produced by transportation. And so they're going to be redoing the regional transportation plan, which if we have anything to add in the neighborhood, now would be the time to contact them. Much of the work in our neighborhood in Goose Hollow, I think, is PBOT. But one thing that came up is that they have a multi-use path planned for Highway 26. So that would probably connect into Jefferson. And with the advent of e-bikes, I think we're going to see a lot of different street uses than we've seen before. He also went over the work Metro's done on housing, which is the build them, their progress and things. I think we're already on top of that. But the other thing that he mentioned is they're now sponsoring their regional refresh grants again. Their regional refresh fund, which offers grants to communities to do things. And I can put the link in our chat box. They also had, there was a political thing, stormwater stars, but a couple of other things that came up was Craig on transportation, they've had a lot of safe routes created up there in Southwest Hills, and he's been really impactful up there in creating better facilities for pedestrians, which I think is something we should probably be thinking about that too, especially with the Block 9 plans, is how are we going to provide better pedestrian safety. The other thing is there was a meeting, Sam Adams held a meeting last week, and all the heads of the neighborhood associations were invited. I wasn't, yeah, I know, we're going, what? And apparently it was on his trash removal plans, which I think is quite important. And I'm kind of wondering why we didn't get an invitation. But Sam Adams has funded some permanent positions to do trash evaluations in each neighborhood, which I think is really terrific. I don't think we have a homeless problem. I'm not aware of huge trash problems like mattresses and dumps, but we certainly have trash. And then finally, Craig, Bill Failing is starting to work on the Vista Bridge, and he's trying to set up a meeting about the Vista Bridge. And I suggested I'd like to work with him on that, because I think the Vista Bridge is it's a real icon and a real symbol of our neighborhood. And I think it's in danger of kind of falling apart if we don't do something. And the fencing doesn't work. As you know, there was a suicide about a month ago. So they're working on that. I'm not quite sure what they're doing, but I told Bill to contact me. Scott, I don't know if you're doing anything on the Vista Bridge. I just haven't heard.
So we've known Bill a long time and we work with him. So I would love for you to work with him on that. And then I can be available since we essentially live right next to the bridge and we see what's going on and have lived with it, in its good times and bad times. So
Yeah.
let's continue on it and see if we can build some momentum. I
think that'd be great.
I did hear from one of my friends who's a bridge engineer for the state of Oregon, that they have half the funding for the interstate bridge. And so that's going to be going forward, the interstate bridges with all those billions of dollars, and there's 60 interchanges and things like that they're going to have to do. Chances are they probably won't start construction for 5 years. But if they've gotten billions of dollars for that, maybe they can free up some funds, since it's a transportation structure. Maybe they can free up some funds to, reconstruct the Vista Bridge and make it safe for everyone and fix it up. So I think maybe striking while the iron is hot is worthwhile, and I'm glad Bill is back on the
Yeah,
case.
well, we'll keep in touch on that. So I'll try to find out what's going on. Anyway,
Right.
that's what I got from the meeting. Was that about what you got, Lori?
Yeah, thanks for summarizing.
Yeah. Tiffany?
All right, Tiffany always has that. Sorry, I'm talking in third person. How scary is that? Just in closure for the safety for this month. Thank you for being a part of that neighborhood group core safety meeting. I think that I would like to encourage many of our Goose Hollower membership to go to these meetings. I feel that we don't see high attendance, and these actual group gatherings outside of the monthly meeting are super beneficial. I'm sure Linda and Lori, you felt the same way. We need to lean into other neighborhoods and what's happening, because look at what we missed when we don't go. But in closing for our safety for this month, in April, our head's on a swivel right now for public safety. Key things that I want you all to remember being in Goose Hollow is Portland Street Response has officially rolled out citywide March 28th, and I'm the president of PSAC. I hosted Robin Burek. She gave a great presentation on what to expect, how to call for Portland Street Response. I think I put it in the chat. I don't see it there anymore, but I gave you all the presentation to answer all of the questions. And the takeaway at this point is this: they help with our, our subacute mental health concerns outside the door. They can actually go into your residences. So they could come to your home if there's an issue. They cannot go into businesses though at this time. What I gravely worry about is right now, Portland Street Response, it's a great plan, but right now, during the winter storm that you just saw and daily crises, the 911 BOIC system is getting tethered and tied up because people are calling for every naked homeless person out there. And we don't want to call for Portland Street Response, the 911, when that should be reserved for heart attacks, car accidents, true medical emergencies. The other day I tried to call through, you wait a long time. And Robin Burek, when I hosted her, you know what she said out of the gates? This is a great idea. Everybody so badly wants to use the Portland Street Response model, but they have to call 911. Think about that for a minute. We already had an extended time, and that doesn't work. And so, like I had yesterday, I was driving in downtown and someone was naked in front of traffic in a mental crisis, and I still couldn't even get through. I waited 30 minutes. And then I thought to myself, oh gosh, so we have a great program. We just have to be able to somehow convince our elected officials to untether it from the 911. I think we can do that. I really do. I'd rather call not a 911, but that's my soapbox there right now. But please learn how the Portland Street Response works. I have the presentation. Learn it, understand it. If you don't want to call for, say, police officer response, you'd rather have you can ask for Portland Street Response. Fantastic. They're asking for more vans. Think about this for a minute. A van on the east side and a van on the west side. Reality is this. I know because I call for mental health responses often. This is going to take upwards of hours response. So don't think this is going to be something that's going to help immediately. Like, for example, the naked person in front of our car, never did get them help. So we're still struggling with our Portland issues right now. We have too many issues. Number two, in terms of PSAC, the DA's office came and presented to us this month because guess what? Reality is they don't have enough prosecutors to prosecute neighborhood crime. They are so tethered up with our homicides right now and our stabbings and victimization that you see probably in the news. Also remind you, Goose Hollow in the last 4 months alone has seen homicide by gun shootings 4 times now. That's 2 times, one on Jefferson, one on 18th. We have that absolutely lovely young woman who's 19 years old, Amara Marlouk. She was gunned down at the PSU campus. Then we just had another gun death right there off of 13th, which is technically our neighborhood. This is how we get in and out. I know it's not actually, I know it's not Goose Hollow, but it's literally a stone's throw from us. So we've had 4 homicide deaths in the last 4 months, and this is unprecedented for Goose Hollow. I talked to the DA's office today about this. I said, wow, Goose Hollow is starting to trend right behind Old Town for death. This isn't Northwest District. This isn't Pearl District. This is actually a big deal for homicide deaths in Goose Hollow. So I don't know if any of you are watching this, but this is not like our neighborhood. So when the DA's office, Mike Schmidt, came out, he said, you know what? I realized I don't have enough prosecutors to handle the gun violence, let alone neighborhood crimes. And he's asking the Multnomah County for more budget dollars just to dedicate it to neighborhood crime, like having an access to a prosecutor for just the neighborhood crimes. I'm a big sold yes on this. I would love Goose Hollow to support a letter for this. And I tried to put stuff in the chat, but I will send it again. It's a one sheet understanding of why Mike Schmidt is asking for prosecutors for the neighborhood level. And I would love Neighbors West Northwest to do this as well, this letter, because we need neighborhood. We need access to prosecutors for our neighborhood crimes. Did anybody not get this that I sent? Did I not? Did it not go through?
Hey, Tiffany might, since it's a lot to get through, my suggestion is, especially since it looks like you're looking for a letter of support, to just go ahead and put this in an email with a request, and then at your next meeting, we'll have, you can actually put a motion in that email so that people know that it's coming, and then we'll go ahead and talk about it and then vote on it, okay?
Great, thank you. And I think that kind of summarizes everything. If you guys are interested in the talk for next month at PSAC, I'm inviting the a micro village in Park Rose, which is our first micro small village. And then there's also another alternative village, Beacon Village. One of my friends runs Beacon Village. This is not a city ran Safe Rest Village, but I'd also like to get a representative from the Safe Rest Village, because right now these villages are small, wieldy from the city of Portland. We need a reality check of what we're asking for here. And just in a final mention, a 14-year-old was gunshotted at the Safe Rest Village in Old Town a few weeks ago. Gunshotted. A child visited the Safe Rest Village for unknown reasons and gunshotted. You will not see that in the news, but I would guess if you Google, you'll probably figure that out. That's a Safe Rest Village. And so we need to understand safety around these Safe Rest villages and what kind of things down the pipeline are going to be provided with these Safe Rest, because downtown's going to get 2 more Safe Rest villages, folks, in addition to the Safe Rest we already have in Old Town. So I want Goose Hollow to always have their they're always ready and prepared and knowing what's coming towards us, because safety first, everyone, right? Thank you.
All right, thanks, Tiffany. Hey, Jerry, can you give us maybe a 1 or 2 sentence summary of what's going on with the Stadium Oversight Committee, if anything? Sorry, let me go ahead and.
There you go. The Oversight Committee won't meet until probably sometime in July. However, if you've been on 18th, you've noticed that there is a very large drill rig out in front of the Providence Health and Performance Building, I guess it's called. Anyway, that's an effort to get rid of the groundwater that's seeping into the stadium from 18th. Apparently, it's the result of the Butler Block building going in and changing the way the groundwater flows. And that's about it.
So Jerry, is that going to be a permanent fix, or is that just going to drain it and then they'll have to come back and do it again sometime in the future?
It's really interesting. The effort is to drill down through the fill layer that where previous developers filled in the Tanner Creek with everything from logs to God knows what, chunks of concrete. It's what's called an unconstructed fill, and that fill acts as a conduit for the groundwater. Well, below that, by another 100 feet is, well, not quite that, 60 feet, is the gravel layer that underlies the city. So they're going to try to drain the groundwater down into the aquifer. It's a very novel solution. It'll probably make a great research paper for somebody in their engineering master's degree. The only thing that new coming along that I'm aware of in terms of planning, if I can segue into planning from oversight committee, is actually outside of Goose Hollow, and that's the issue over the Northwest Cultural Center. So that's it. Oh, wait a minute. That is not all. On Southwest Cardinal, there's a proposal now to build a building that is smaller than was originally proposed. However, it is a little bit wider at the shoulders. The building is kind of more rectangular than the original one was supposed to be. And there are view shed issues. Now, one, there's a viewpoint at the top of the stairs that's right next door to the proposed building. And there's also a private view easement that goes across the building. So the apartment house on Cardinal has not gone away, and we will be hearing more about it within the next couple of months. That's it.
Thank you, Jerry. Neighbors West Northwest. Tiffany, did you have a chance to go to that meeting and any of it? You did. Do you want to go ahead and let us know maybe a little bit of what went on? Because we do have a new executive director now.
Thank you, Scott. Thanks for getting COVID and sending me in at the last minute. And I sure did come in there pretty hot. When I came in, I sat down. I missed about half the meeting, but it sounded like what I missed was they gave me some notes, was just dividing out roles. And Rick sounds wonderful, by the way. He's a great leader. And then also just to bring awareness, Darlene Garrett, who is a resident of the downtown neighborhood association, she stepped in that paid position for Neighbors West Northwest. So I'm really excited to see a lot of fresh new faces and a lot of changes and look a good direction. It looks like they're trying to get their bearings and figure out their subcommittees, who's responsible for what. But what was refreshing is they said, let's get our goals lined up. Let's finally start, focusing on the 13 neighborhood coalition and what impacts are happening in the neighborhood. Stay relevant, and I really appreciated that. And they did ask me, and probably the wrong person to ask what they could be doing, and that was, one, we need advocacy for the DA neighborhood budget. Number two, graffiti abatement understanding and support from the coalition, because our neighborhoods are impacted by graffiti and trash. And then there was a couple other things that I contributed with. Tent count advocacy, that as well, because neighborhoods don't have resources. They need the coalition to help advocate if we have a shelter crisis right there in our neighborhood. So those are kind of some of the things I threw on their table right there, just in a nutshell. And then also, Scott, they gave me, when I was there in person, the old Goose Hollow days film footage. I have this reel, and do I need to drop it off at your house, or do I drop it off at Jerry Powell's house? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't. When you say old Goose Hollow days reel, are you talking about like the video from like the 70s or something like that?
Yes. Do you want me to bring it and show you what it looks like? It's pretty huge, and I don't know what to do. I could bring it to you, or Jerry. So let me get it, because I know it had to come from someone's house.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. I mean, I wasn't alive then. I'm 29 years old, so.
Yeah,
And she's gone.
Is she talking about the 16mm film? That's the film that was going to be restored, right? That Tracy was working on.
Oh,
It
Is-
says KGW Neighborhood Association Office, attention Lynn, Goose Hollow from 1981, 30 minutes long. And this thing's big.
That's
wow.
16mm. That's not a, yeah, that's not a.
That's
Well,
a treasure.
It
You know,
could be-
maybe what we should do is set aside some money to restore it and have it digitized.
Yeah.
Well, it could be videotape. I'm not sure, but there was a 16mm film they were talking about, right?
Yeah.
Doug, do you remember this? Should I give it to Doug? Could you figure out how to transfer this or find out a cost on this? Because wouldn't it be cool to show this at the Goose Hollow Days?
Yes, Tracy said, no, it has color correction problems. It needs to be restored.
Okay.
If to make it watchable, from what somebody said before, a long time ago. And then the price quote was it 1,500, and then it started out at 500 and then went, you got to send it to someplace like Warner Brothers or somebody professional really knows what they're doing.
Bridget can say something. She's muted.
I don't think she can. She's muted.
She wants to say something.
Yes, I was just going to say, a few years ago, I donated my grandfather's cartoons to the Oregon Historical Society. And I bring this up because I know that they have the resources, maybe not right now, but if we reached out to them and shared that we had this footage from, and it's crazy to think the 80s was so long ago because it feels like just yesterday I was running around. That's, you know, people want that. They have the resources to restore those kinds of things. They have repositories, even if they don't restore it, to store it for us to make sure it's not, you know, in some basement or God knows where. So that is my 2 cents. Oregon Historical Society, this is their bread and butter. This is what they do.
Yeah. At least get it scanned. Get it scanned in digital form.
Yeah. Okay, good. And I see that my name's on it, but I'm not particularly beholden to it. We can hold on to it. We have someone who works in the Vancouver film industry, and maybe they can give us an idea of how to do it. They might even do it for free with the color correction. So I'll ask about that. So Tiffany, you can leave it off with us. I can work with Doug and some others, and we'll try to get this done. If we need money, we'll come back to the board with an ask to try to restore it. How's that sound? Yes? I'm sorry, Tiffany, speak up, please.
Thank you. Yes. And last about Neighbors West Northwest, I want to make sure for transparency, the board did talk about the grievance that Eric Simon has filed with the Neighbors West Northwest. So just to let you know that he did escalate it to that group, and they're handling it professionally. And they announced to the coalition there that they were moving forward with figuring that process out. And I don't even know where they're at that point, but it sounds like the baton has been passed.
All right, thank you, Tiffany. I don't have anything else on the agenda. If anybody can think of something, otherwise we're just a little bit past 2 hours. I would love to. Sherry, you're waving your hand, or you're waving goodbye. You're waving goodbye, right?
And
Okay.
unmute for just a second. You know, I just wondered, you know, we're talking about the Goose Hollow Days, and I'm sure everyone knows by now that we lost dear Bud Clark on February 1st. And I just wanted to say something, you know, I've missed him, and Goose Hollow is just not quite the same without him. And I just wanted to know if anybody had anything to share, and maybe we could put that, somehow integrate that into our Goose Holidays when we have it have our next Goose Holidays.
Well,
I
you're in a great position
the
to
picnic.
handle
At
that.
every event we have, we need to mention him and recognize him. Sherry, I'm really glad you brought that up, because when we had our last meeting, I heard stories I didn't even know about. So I'm glad you brought that up. That should be on the forefront of whether it's the picnic, in our outreach, if we give a speech, or if we give a synopsis of some kind, and Goose Holidays, if there's an exploratory committee, maybe there's some way to recognize him and honor his legacy in conjunction with our event or events, hopefully in this year or the next.
Thank you so much.
And Scott, can I also, in closing, recognize one of our board members is not here tonight. It's Vadim Mazursky. And I came in a little late. I don't know if anybody recognized that he wasn't here tonight, but he did text me that he's under his a lot of he's really extremely busy with his political campaign for seat 3. I want to give a special shout out to him. He's representing our neighborhood. I'm proud of him. And I don't know if you saw him in Willamette Week, but they looks like Willamette Week's one of their media folks had looked like they did a story on him and featured him in his Goose Hollow house as a neatnik, I guess. You know, he's very, very orderly with his Goose Hollow house. And I wanted to say, does Goose Hollow homes, those beautiful antique homes, make you just want to be a neatnik or what? I don't know, but I'm super proud that he keeps his house orderly, because I think he can handle our city that way. If he can handle neatnik Goose Hollow homes, he can handle the city of Portland for sure. But anyway, I just want to say a special thank you to him, and hopefully he will come back to us. I think he told me today 9 meetings, 9. So I want to say, go Goose Hollow, go Vadim, because that just makes us just proud that he came from our community and he represents our neighborhood and he knows what happens down in our neck of the woods. So there we go. And I'm just saying that not as a board member, but as a residential neighbor friend of Vadim. I'm proud of him and our neighborhood.
I am too, and I personally hope that he sits on city council, because partly we know where his skeletons are buried, and he'll be able to give us anything that we want in the future, I'm sure. Oh, did I say that out loud? I'm sorry. I'm going to edit that out of the Goose Hollow minutes. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye before I say anything else that's idiotic. So it's good seeing everyone. I hope that we get the chance to see each other in person soon. I'm going to keep working on it because I think it's very important. So enjoy the weather. It's just going to keep on getting better.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Thanks to all of you.
All right.
Good night.
Bye, everybody.
Good night. Thank you, everyone.